I'm Gloria, sitting in the Ritz-Carlton bar, sipping champagne that I bought with my hard-earned money. I see him approaching. His name is Victor. He looks like a broken man, unshaven and hollow-eyed, his Armani suit wrinkled, as if he's been sleeping in it. "You destroyed everything," he says, standing too close, his breath reeking of whiskey. It's been 21 days since I left him, and he's the one who looks like he's drowning. I turn on my bar stool and meet his bloodshot eyes directly. "You had a life, and I had a role in your performance," I say calmly. "You said I wouldn't survive a week without you, but here I am." As he reaches for my wrist, I pull away. His face contorts with anger. "You don't understand what you've done. My father's facing 20 years, and the fund is gone. Everything is exactly what you built it to be, a house of cards." I just stopped holding my breath. I reply. The bartender steps forward. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You're disturbing our guests." Victor demands, "Do you know who I am?" The bartender replies calmly, "Someone who's disturbing our guests." Security arrives and guides him out. The bartender sets another champagne flute in front of me. "On the house. That was long overdue. Let me take you back to how it all started. I grew up in a middle-class family in a small town. My parents were hard, working, and honest. My father was a teacher and my mother was a nurse. They instilled in me the values of hard work and integrity. I met Victor at a business conference. He was charming, wealthy, and seemed to have the world at his feet. He pursued me relentlessly, and I was swept off my feet. We got married, and I became part of his world, a world of luxury and privilege. But behind the glittering facade, there was a dark side. Victor's father, Henry, was a powerful hedge fund mogul. He built his empire on insider trading and strategic marriages. Victor was just as ruthless as his father. I became a trophy wife, expected to look pretty and attend social events. Victor thought I was just a decorative piece, someone he could control. He gave me an allowance to play with stocks as a cute little hobby, not knowing that I was actually making a fortune through day trading. One morning, on our anniversary, I woke up alone in our California king-sized bed. Victor had fallen asleep in his study again, surrounded by monitors showing after hours trading in Tokyo. I stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows on the 23rd floor, watching the city wake up. The silk robe he'd given me for Christmas itched against my skin. It was the wrong size, chosen by his assistant who thought all wives wore the same size. I decided to organize his study to look for our insurance documents. That's when I found a voice recorder on his desk. When I accidentally knocked it over, it started playing. I heard Victor's voice in the middle of a conversation with his friend, Leo. She asked to see our investment statements yesterday. I told her they were too complicated. I could get her to sign over her kidneys, and she'd just ask what pen to use, he said, laughing. I was shocked. I realized that he saw me as nothing more than an investment, someone he could manipulate. I also found a folder marked prenuptial amendments. The documents were dated last month, adding clauses about abandonment and forfeit of assets if I left without just cause. My signature on them was forged, but expertly so. That was the moment I decided to take action. I started planning my escape. I had been secretly saving money through day trading, turning the initial $10,000 allowance into a six-figure sum. I also started hiding essentials at my gym, knowing that Victor never questioned my gym trips. One day, Victor challenged me, saying I wouldn't survive a week without him. I simply took out the keys to the house, the car, and the safe, lined them up on the granite counter, and said, "You're right. Let's find out." Then I walked out, leaving everything he'd bought me behind. I checked into the Ritz-Carlton using my maiden name, Gloria Thompson. I had access to the penthouse cameras, and I watched as Victor paced the kitchen, picking up and setting down the keys, calling someone. I knew he was probably calling Leo or his father, but he wouldn't call the police because he had no real reason to. Over the next few weeks, I established a routine. I made morning trades for my suite, took afternoon walks through Central Park, and spent evenings reviewing the documents that Victor's secretary, Clara, had been giving me. Clara had been working for the family for 40 years and had been secretly documenting all their financial crimes. On our actual anniversary, Victor invited me to dinner. At first, he said it was just to discuss logistics, but then he changed the plans. Nathan and his wife, Lily, were joining us, and we were going to his father's estate to discuss a Singapore deal. When I arrived at the estate, I knew it was an ambush. The room was filled with business partners, their wives, and even Victor's lawyer. Victor started telling a fictional story about how we met, making me look like a fool. Nathan added insults, and Lily's pitying gesture under the table made me feel worse. I excused myself and slipped into Henry's study. I found his computer with a password written on a post-it note. I memorized everything, including the layout of the desk, the wall safe, and the filing cabinet. Through the window, I could see Victor playing the role of a successful husband, while I was gathering intelligence in the shadows. That night, I met Clara at a small restaurant in Chinatown. She gave me a lipstick tube that was actually a flash drive, containing 16 gigabytes of evidence of the family's financial crimes. She told me about Henry's first wife, who died in a mysterious car accident, and his second wife, who was institutionalized for asking too many questions. She also revealed that Victor had been grooming Lily. He was planning to leave me, but first he needed to destroy my credibility. The anniversary dinner was part of his plan to make me look unstable. I knew I needed more evidence. I contacted my lawyer, Ava, and asked her to create a company for me. Phantom Rose Holdings LLC was incorporated in Delaware and registered in Connecticut. It was a complex but legal structure that would be difficult to trace. A week later, Victor left for Singapore. While he was away, I searched his office. His password was our wedding date, a sentimental choice that he thought was clever. I found clear evidence of insider trading, as well as emails discussing my mental fragility and plans to have me evaluated by a psychiatrist. I also found a folder marked Exit Strategy in his personal safe. It was a detailed plan for getting rid of me, complete with profit projections. I photographed everything and uploaded the files to the encrypted cloud storage of Phantom Rose Holdings. One day, Lily approached me at the pool. She told me that Nathan knew about Victor's messages to her. He had hired a private investigator and cloned our phones. She showed me a bruise on her jawline, warning me that these men get even when cornered. Victor came home with lilies, a sign that he was starting to pay attention. He suggested a vacation and presented me with new insurance papers. Under the table, I used my phone to capture every page. I lied and signed the papers, knowing that I was one step closer to exposing him. My mother came to visit. Victor put on a show, being the perfect son-in-law. But I knew it was all an act. After she left, Clara texted me to meet at the New York Public Library. She showed me newspaper clippings about the previous wives of the family. All of them had met tragic fates, and I was next in line. I started making small withdrawals from our joint account, making it look like normal expenses. As Victor's business started to crumble, thanks to the anonymous tips Clara had sent to his clients, his drinking escalated. One day, Ava called to tell me that the FBI had contacted her. They knew she represented me and wanted to talk. I realized that the time to act was now. At a ladies' auxiliary meeting, I finally stood up for myself. Helen, a woman who had always patronized me, made a snide comment about my investment hobby. I responded by revealing that my portfolio was up 340% this year and that I had made a fortune shorting her husband's pharmaceutical company. The room fell silent, and I knew that the game was changing. Then the explosion came. Lily filed for divorce from Nathan, bringing evidence of infidelity and financial fraud. Victor called me, accusing me of leaking information to her. I told him the truth, that Lily had found her own evidence. I sent an envelope full of evidence about Victor's plans to steal Nathan's clients and his financial projections for acquiring Lily after her divorce to Nathan's office. 3 hours later, I received an email from Victor's assistant saying that Nathan had dissolved their partnership. I reported the systematic insider trading at Victor's family's company to the SEC. I had 5 years of documented evidence, and I knew it was time to bring them down. That evening, Henry arrived at our penthouse in a rage. He and Victor worked all night, but it was too late. I packed my things, leaving my clothes and jewelry behind. I left a note on the granite counter saying, "Check your accounts." I took a taxi to the Warwick Hotel. The next morning, I watched as our joint accounts were automatically divided according to New York State matrimonial law. Victor called me multiple times, his voice devolving from commanding to begging. In the end, justice was served. Henry was arrested for insider trading, tax evasion, and wire fraud. Victor was looking at 15 to 20 years in prison. I got the house, 60% of the remaining liquid assets, and my separate property remained untouched. I also started a foundation with Clara called the Phoenix Foundation to help women who had been in similar situations. We've already had several clients, and we're making a difference. As I sit here, looking out at the city lights, I realize that I've finally found my freedom. I'm no longer a trophy wife, but a woman in control of her own destiny. And I'm ready for whatever comes next.